I am part of two different worlds. I'm part of the hearing world, and I'm part of the deaf world. Now, mind you, I am physically hearing, but I am culturally deaf. I was raised by two brilliant, wonderful deaf parents, who, along with other deaf friends, professors, mentors, and teachers, taught me all about the beauty of deaf culture and the power of the visual spatial medium of communication through sign languages. Now, this may come as a surprise to many of you in the audience because we typically think of deafness to be a disability. We think of it to be unintellectual, to be burdensome to the state, to be a sad, isolating experience. But what we all fail to realize is that we judge the deaf person according to hearing standards. We don't talk so much about what deaf people can contribute to this world. Diversity, a linguistic minority, visual spatial acuity, different perception, different understanding of how the world works. We don't talk about these things. And I go back to a quote by Einstein, which just to sum up, basically says that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to perceive its whole life, its whole existence as stupid, because it can't do that. But it can, however, it knows how to navigate the sea, the ocean floor. And similar to the deaf condition, we judge, again, the deaf person by hearing standards, but we don't, again, talk about these other skills and other gains that they can contribute to our community. And these audio-centric biases, the term for that is audism, not autism, audism. And what audism is the belief that hearing and hearing behavior, so like speaking as I am now, that these things are superior. And I put disconscious up there because it is the common, I guess, regard to this is, well, this is the dominant form of speaking. The majority of people use the audio-verbal medium for communicating. But just because something is a majority doesn't necessarily make it right. And we all think that because the majority uses it, this is the only true form of being and of communicating thoughts. And so these audio-centric biases, what's really scary about all of them is that they influence and turn audio-centric policies and actions made towards this marginalized community that in turn affects their health. And a lot of these negative stereotypes that we associate with deafness and maybe come across today. And case in point, I want to talk about these sort of videos. I'm pretty sure you guys are all aware of them or may have come across them sometime. They're really quite popular. They show the miraculousness of a deaf person now becoming hearing. And while I don't want to deny an element of beauty to these videos don't tell the true story of what's really going on here. When I stomp my feet, you guys can hear that. But there's a difference with cochlear implantation and all these other hearing devices with hearing greater sort of frequencies and actually being able to distinguish these sounds that I'm making and be able to put it all together to understand and comprehend what a person is saying. There are a range and differences with sounds. And Sanjay Gulati, who spoke here last year, discussed the issues with cochlear implantation as student or deaf children who have cochlear implants still only get every third or fifth word of what people are saying. And so you can see that getting fragmented words, that's not language. Fragmented words are not language. Language is far more complex than that. It includes grammar, it includes syntax, structure. And you can only imagine that if these kids are getting these just fragmented words, they're not getting a full language. And I don't want to discount the importance of cochlear implants and hearing intervention because, let's face it, this is a majority world where everyone uses that form of communicating. But prioritizing that over sign language, which is a more natural form of deaf people being able to communicate and not exposing deaf people to a culture and a community can have some very serious consequences. Now to go back to this language deprivation, I again want to emphasize that sound is not language. And we often focus so much when we look at a deaf child, we focus so much on getting them to communicate, but we focus so much on the medium. We want them to speak because we want this audio verbalness. We want that in them. Yet we neglect what the fundamental, we neglect what is crucial to communication, which is language. Regardless of the medium, that can be changed, whatever. Language is important because that actually hits the cognitive brain of deaf children. And so you can see, if language development is impaired, comprehension is difficult to come by. You can't really articulate beliefs. You can't really make up in words what's going on around you, in you, what you're physically feeling. This also has implications in educational attainment and even emotional behavior. Sanjay Gulati has actually been doing work on this and found just deaf children who weren't exposed to ASL and have just been in a primarily spoken language environment have serious emotional behavioral problems. And this is not because of their deafness, but because they don't have language. How are they going to articulate what exactly they're feeling? They can't because they're not given a language, a true fundamental language. And so you can see, if all of these are impaired, this in turn affects other issues in their life, such as job prospects, financial issues, self-esteem, stress, and just overall well-being. And you can see how this whole thing is cyclical, not necessarily with the issue being language acquisition, but even to go more back, the issue of audiocentricity and these audiocentric biases in autism. And so to go back to the slide that I recently had, you see how a lot of these stereotypes that we pin to deafness, again, is not necessarily due to their physical condition, but it's how society acts towards the deaf community that actually perpetuates a lot of these stereotypes that we see today. And so what can we do? And obviously this takes many different actors, the involvement of many different actors. Doctors, future doctors, need to know that they hold a lot of privilege, and a lot of deaf children are born primarily to hearing parents, and you can only imagine that hearing parents don't know what to do with this kid. It's a different culture, it's a different way of communicating, a different central ability, and they often turn to doctors for advice, but if doctors themselves don't even know about deaf issues and language deprivation, how are they best suited to direct the parents in the proper path for developing their child's cognitive, social, emotional development? Parents need to understand that, sometimes parents want their kids to be similar to them, but that can often be dangerous, especially in the context of deaf hearing. You want what's best for your kid, and research has shown bimodal, bicultural intervention, which includes both sign and spoken language intervention, as well as inclusion of deaf culture and deaf identity and deaf community into a deaf kid's life has profound effects, good effects. And for the larger society, for all of us here, it's understanding that difference doesn't necessarily mean disability, and that difference can widely, if we really take time to understand the differences in people, how much they can contribute to our society in profound ways. We tend to limit capability in just one single box, but we don't look beyond that. But this could be the saving grace. My sort of utopia is hopefully maybe we can reach this sort of state. Martha's Vineyard, I'm not too sure if you guys are all aware of it, but it's an island off the coast of Massachusetts, which at one point was populated by both deaf and hearing alike, and pretty much everyone there knew sign language. So you couldn't even tell who was deaf or who was hearing, because everyone was like, hey man, what's up? Just signing or speaking or going back and forth, and there's this full expression of communication and knowledge and transmittance, and that's sort of my utopia. But again, the larger picture is understanding that difference doesn't correlate to disability, and it's how the associations that we make with difference that contribute to that. And to end, I want to leave off with this quote and inform you that I'm not the sole creator of all of these ideas and all of this research that I just presented. A lot of deaf professors, deaf allies have been contributing so much into and looking so much into these issues of autism, yet no one's opening their eyes. And I just want to leave with that. Oh, and the answer to the question in the back, I don't know if you guys saw it, how many sign languages there are in the world. People tend to think there's only one universal one, but in fact there's 130.